One of my favorite things about sports anime are the insane metaphors used to give each encounter and team a philosophy and style. Symbolism of this nature can help provide really provocative imagery for a reader or audience member, while adding to the story's central ideas. I have basically made a living on this channel by discussing many of the techniques and ideas at the core of Furudate's pen, trying to understand how he constructed such a brilliant series in Haikyuu. The symbolism of Haikyuu is something I haven't directly touched upon, and want to do so here, for there's so much to talk about. Take Date Tech or Karasuno. Date Tech is the iron wall, an immovable strategy that feeds into their team's read-blocking scheme. Karasuno are the crows. They scrap for wins and will use techniques other teams seem to be above while soaring past opponents. All of these connections seem to be relatively straightforward. It doesn't take a lot of digging to understand the purpose of the iron wall or crow imagery. However, symbolism and metaphors like this allow for the audience to instantly grasp the idea of a team, and then Furudate has the opportunity to toy with our preconceived notions about how that team should play. There is a lot of imagery in this series, but I want to mainly focus on the animal representations of each team, and how they relate to the themes and characters within them, as each team represents a different animal that comes with an entirely different outlook on how to play volleyball. These separate approaches to the game of volleyball is what I find so interesting, because all of the players fit into those roles so well, the ones who were recruited and the ones who weren't. So here I want to talk through each of the various symbols and metaphors used on the surface of Haikyuu's story and see how that applies to each team, hoping to find meaning that we didn't think of previously. Welcome to Annie Essays. Here we overanalyze anime and manga, with each video on the channel created under the belief that anime, same as film and literature, is worthy of in-depth criticism. If you enjoy my videos, consider checking out my Patreon. It is one of the best ways to help support me and the channel, allowing me to make more and higher quality videos. More information about Patreon and YouTube member benefits at the end of this video. A lot of these metaphors and symbols come down to coaching philosophy. A real-world coach I often think of when it comes to this is Pete Carroll, a former football coach who spent time with the Patriots, Seahawks, and USC, all to varying levels of success. In fact, his tenure at each program has a chasm of a difference when it comes to wins and losses. In New England, he was fired after 3 lackluster seasons. Then he went on to be a massive success at USC and Seattle. Pete said his failure was due to a lack of world philosophy. Not having a view of the world limited his ceiling as a coach and a player. You can see this change on the field during his time in Seattle, as that team played with a clarity of vision that you don't often find year over year in sports. I've spent probably too long rambling about a football coach in my Haikyuu video, but I think it is an important context when thinking about various metaphors and symbols used in this series. Each program represents a different philosophy, and the stronger they adhere to those principles, the more cohesive of a team they will have. Of course, what use is symbolism if you can't apply it to yourself? Pete Carroll's focus on finding worldview in many ways aligns with my mission for this channel. I truly believe the most essential thing for anyone is to define their worldview, as a lack of one will always limit yourself, no matter the field. One of the ways we can cultivate our own world philosophy is by engaging with art, exploring the meanings behind our favorite stories. The crows of Karasuno and the eagles of Shiratorizawa stand out right away. Like I said at the start of this video, Karasuno are a scrappy and underrated team that use tactics that might seem trivial to opposing teams, but they are able to fly with them. This takes form in their style of play, sending in every attacker when they have the chance to. Crows often travel in packs, overcoming large predators with the strength of the whole. Karasuno has a player like Kageyama who individually has few rivals, yet his skill grows as he embraces as the team. The eagle of Shiratorizawa represents individual strength. You see an eagle fly by itself, flying as the kings of the air. Shiratorizawa's style of play matches that by leaning into the talent of their players. This suggestion of individuality actually works really well with Tendo, whose guest blocking style is not something you would normally expect from a powerhouse school, but works in this context because he can express himself. Date Tech's Iron Wall brings together a team of strong defenders. Tendo is the second best middle blocker in the prefecture, yet he wouldn't fit into the rigid system of Date Tech and thrives far more in the individualistic philosophy of Shiratorizawa. His guest blocking works in a system that encourages individuals to play on their own terms. It makes sense that these two programs would clash so much, as stylistically they oppose each other every step of the way. Furudate never holds back on layering symbolism, and he does so with Uchijima's comments on soil versus concrete. Uchijima looks at Hinata and sees a player who has no potential because of his stature. Hinata could never challenge him because his soil is barren. It complicates the initial metaphor of the eagle and the crow, showing how the individualistic outlook forces those who adhere to it to look down on others. All the better is the separate success both these teams have. Each program having made it to nationals shows that both styles of play have merit. So what kind of players benefit from both programs? This is where I look towards Daichi and Shirabu. Daichi's style of play doesn't scream sporadic, but he fits in perfectly with this team because he offers a skill set they lack and can buy into the philosophy of the crow. His defense allows for other players to focus on offense, melding him perfectly into the group-oriented philosophy. But imagine if Daichi was unwilling to join in on group attacks. That would likely hold Karasuno back from reaching their highest potential. Shirabu reaches higher than his talent because he's fine playing second fiddle to Uchijima. He's a good player, but not a standout talent in the same way as an Atsumu or a Kageyama. Instead, he complements the talent, showing that even a team of eagles still needs to have players fill unique roles. Buy-in becomes critical here, and is why sports are so fascinating as they reveal how widely different philosophies can equally lead a team to victory. With a strong overall view of the world and a willingness to see out that strategy, you will find success. As all of the different kinds of worldviews you apply to your life will only be meaningful if you fully embrace them. No one has a certain blueprint for how you should act, but trying to forge a philosophy is the biggest step you can take to getting somewhere close. The seagulls of Kamomedai are one of my favorite symbols in the show. A seagull is not what comes to mind when I think of the strongest animals, but Kamomedai's philosophy and objective outlook on the game, for my money, is the team philosophy most worth pursuing. Seagulls might not have the precision of a crow or the strength of an eagle, but they still survive in difficult conditions. As a storm might warp around them, they persist, and in a lot of ways that is how Kamomedai is able to thwart the storm that Karasuno brings in the quarterfinals. They have stability through blocking and can handle any mess they face in the air. I can't believe I've gone this far in the video and have yet to mention the cats of Nekoma and the owls of Fukurodani, two of the most evocative teams in the show. The cats of Nekoma take on the personality of Kenma as they silently study their opponents without passion. The Nekoma way is one that is easily taught to those who hang around the program for a short amount of time. Kenma and Toru are opposites, yet find an equilibrium when playing together for Nekoma, as they both understand the defensive strategies that are needed for their team to win the games. The owls of Fukurodani is one of the most clever of these metaphors. When I think of owls in fiction, it usually comes with wisdom or mysticism. Bokuto isn't really the kind of character I would initially see as the wisest of people. Oddly enough, in real life, owls are far from the smartest animal around. The dichotomy of our perception of the owl and the reality of them fits into Bokuto perfectly. Bokuto and Akashi, in many ways, both survive on internal knowledge. They think very differently to other people, but once you get into their mind, Bokuto especially, they both have a lot of wisdom, even if Akashi's is more traditional and Bokuto's more out of the box. The best example of that is when Bokuto talks about doing what is fun, not what's easy. I think this comparison hints at the growth we know Bokuto will go through, as his simple look actually has a lot more meaning to be taken from it. We can't forget about the foxes of Inarizaki. Foxes are widely known as a symbol of trickery, fitting for a team that stays in the moment and even has the ability to copy the techniques of Karasuno. When playing against Inarizaki, you never know what trick they're going to use next, and they always do it in a sly and confident way. Foxes have a cunning and craftiness to them, and that can be seen everywhere on Inarizaki's roster. Date Tech, who I've also mentioned a few times in this video, and Abajosai, whose symbol is a tree, are the two teams who don't have a connecting metaphor with an animal, unless you count Mad Dog. Abajosai's imagery of being a tree fits their nurturing style of play. Oikawa and his team embrace the style of others and allow them to grow in the best way for themselves and the team. I could easily see their style changing drastically over the years, more so than other schools, allowing their talent to lead the way. Oikawa is the player that does that here, and because of it, they are able to bring out the greatest potential of everyone at all moments. So we've taken a look at the major metaphors and symbolism present on the surface level of Haikyuu. All of these connections help us better understand the nuances of the characters and gain insight in the philosophies of their teams. I find these symbols enrich the series so much because of how Furudate builds on all of them. It always starts with accessibility, as metaphors such as these enhance our understanding of the matches. It makes it easy for the viewer to understand what a team is trying to accomplish, so we can get invested in the strategy, pace, and emotion of a match. Just like the rest of the story, Furudate is a master at introducing the simple, then digging in. One of the ways he does this is by introducing the many characters who don't fit into the idea of the team. Kita is the clearest example of this, as he basically rejects the philosophy of Inarizaki. Inarizaki chooses to not believe in the memories, while the foundation of Kita is how the memories and routine have shaped him into the person he's become. In reality, Kita is the perfect player for Kamo Medai, as their beliefs align. Yet, that outlook got him the role of team captain as a bench player for Inarizaki. All of the different metaphors used to describe the teams and the way their players play start to blur together when you consider them as individuals who will always challenge one point of view. Kita keeps his team in line, and in return, Eren and Atsumu help him find a new side to himself. The more time I spend writing about this, the more characters I find that don't fit neatly into the ideas of the teams they play for. And most of the time, that difference ends up being a crucial component to making their strategy function. Take Mad Dog, for example. Mad Dog is not the kind of player Abajosai normally takes on, but he without a doubt raises their ceiling in their match against Karasuno, and with a little more time, they could have gotten that team playing at a national level. Each team's metaphor allows the audience to see the intentions of their style of play, but every match and the results that come along with it always shed new light on the way we perceive them. Take the snakes of Noebi from the Tokyo prefecture. They are a bunch of cheating jerks who play in a slimy way to gain any advantage possible. But as the story moves forward and Daisho watches nationals, we realize, while misguided, his intentions stemmed from a need to try and win. We then view the snake not as a cheating team, but one that was desperate to win. Above all else, these types of metaphors and symbols are fun to discuss. I love seeing Hinata soar like he's a crow, or the battle at the garbage dump between two undervalued teams that dig deep in the most unorthodox of ways. Oddly, discussing these kinds of symbols in Haikyuu feels akin to power scaling. As we discuss the attributes of the players on each team, we develop a better understanding of their personalities and role. Each of the characters we meet add a new flavor to the symbols their teams are connected to, as all of them find out more about themselves and their playstyles. Some may one day grow out of those philosophy. Atsumu evolves in a really mature way post-time skip, but trying to adhere to a specific style is a strong way to learn more about yourself. That is the importance of symbolism in Haikyuu. It starts out as a way to ease the audience into connecting with a team. You understand a squad's playstyle just by the animal they're connected to. Sometimes that even comes with foreshadowing, like Bokuto's turn to the wise in his own weird way. It can help us see into the conflicts of each team even more, like Karasuno versus Shiratorizawa or Nekoma. Furudate never makes these connections lightly, as usually a character or two will take the symbolism and turn it into form and evoke stronger feelings. The symbolism at times can be a little over the top. As players soar, so do their animal counterparts, but Furudate will always be one of the masters at starting out with the simple connections and making them go beyond. These symbols represent the different worldviews of the teams, their players and coaches. Every match becomes a debate of those ideas. At times you see the cracks in how they approach the game, and others validation becomes the reward for a team that plays cohesively under one guiding principle. The symbolism of Haikyuu, the many creatures that match our characters, give us a window into their worldview, and in return helps us craft our own. As the story goes on, these connections become even more clear and evocative. Hinata becomes the greatest crow in the series, a player who plays with precision and isn't above doing the dirty things, willing to eat the scraps and blend in with his teammates, helping him and them soar to new heights. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you've had a good end to 2024. It has been such an amazing year for the channel, with so much growth that I really couldn't have expected. So thank you again for watching all of my videos, and if you want to support me further, consider checking out my Patreon or YouTube membership. Benefits include your name at the end of every video. You also get access to this channel's Discord server, where you can talk with me about all things anime, manga, and media-based, as well as join the monthly anime watch-alongs, where we watch a new series every month and I talk about each episodes and new threads every day, and you get access to exclusive Patreon update posts. Thanks again for such a great year, and I hope to see you in the next one.